All right, well, welcome to episode number 16 of So What Do You Know About Business? This is a podcast where five women entrepreneurs sit during happy hour and we talk lessons learned in business and in life. I'm your host, I'm Erin Smith. And the conversation, sorry, I was like trying to figure out what I was going to say. The conversation always keeps going over in our Facebook, over at bit.ly/know, K-N-O-W business. And we're always over there, so come hang out with us. And I think it's probably time we start getting some guests on pretty soon, like start incorporating some of our fans. So get over there in the Facebook group, and I think we need to start pulling this in. I know we had talked about it earlier. So also, we're on iTunes. You can visit us over at bit.ly/know, K-N-O-W biz. So we'll always be happy to take a rating and review. And this is the part of the podcast where we go around, introduce ourselves, tell everybody what you do and then what you're drinking, because it is happy hour. You don't have to drink, but cocktails are highly encouraged. So let's see. I'm going to go with Chandra first tonight.
Hi guys, I'm Chandra Ackberger, a serial entrepreneur getting my artist thing on at Chandra. You can find me at Chandra Inc. And I'm on a health kick, so I'm drinking a white wine organic spritzer. So.
As long as it's organic. Original. Megan, I'll go with you next.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Megan from meganflat.com, and I work with mom business owners who want to grow their dream business, and I use time management strategies, planning strategies to help them do that. And I just came back from a coffee meeting, so I've got my Starbucks chai latte that I'm finishing off. So that's
very nice. All right, Andrea, how about you?
I'm Andrea Trevelyan. I am drinking a white wine. I know nothing about it because I literally ran to the fridge, grabbed whatever was open, and dumped it in a glass. I do small business coaching, specialize in focusing on the finances for business and the personal side.
Awesome. And like I said, I'm Erin Smith. I am owner of the Starters Club, where I help people start and grow their businesses organically. Today has been one of those days I'm afraid to open a bottle of wine because it would probably be gone by the time this hour is up. So I'm drinking an IPA beer. It'll get me over pretty well over the next hour. All right. So we are out. Taylor I guess, can't connect tonight, so it's just going to be us four. I wanted to talk this time around. Usually what we do is we either talk about a topic or talk about lessons learned, but Chandra sent out a post, which was kind of freaky when I saw it because it just clicked that we're already almost halfway through the first quarter of 2015, which is just crazy that we're moving that quickly. So this week I wanted to talk about, as we're, usually 2015, we start with new goals, we try to change some things in our business, we move forward. So I wanted to just take this moment as we're getting in that halfway point and talk about one or two maybe things you've changed that have been working really well, a couple big lessons learned, whatever it is that you've done with your business or are currently doing with your business that you feel is going to be a great fit, or you've noticed it's been a great change, and cover those. So let's go same format. Chandra, you're up, and then everybody feel free to chime in. We're going to have extra time for everybody, so chime in on what everybody's saying. So Chandra, you're up.
Hey, so I guess number one, which was a huge revelation for me last year, but probably like Q3, was basically dissecting the year into quarters and really taking pause at the end of each quarter. So at the beginning of each quarter to like set goals for that time. I remember one of our earlier shows we talked about doing a vision board for each quarter. I started like a month, but that was too much. And just basically blocking out time to look at your quarterly and whether you're going in the right direction, right? So business-wise, I heard, some of these incubators, they don't like help you out. Like I heard somebody talk, and they were just like, they just want to know whether you're doing 7% progression ahead, right? And so you need time, like, is what I'm doing right now going to push my business forward about 7%, right? Like, I mean, and that's like a arbitrary number when we're talking about very different businesses or whatever, but like whatever it is, growing an audience, whatever it is, making more money, whether you have whatever, is it growing about 7% each month, or what I'm doing today, is that going to propel my business forward? And taking the time to really, not so much like at the end of the year, always Q4, people freak out and are just like, oh, I haven't reached my goals, like there are these time periods, but like starting in Q1 to really stop and look and be like, am I on the right path? Why am I not on the right path? All right, maybe I need to change what that is, redirect, or do whatever. But if something is not moving you forward, and if you're stuck, why are you stuck? Is there a reason for that, or is it just fear getting the best of you? So it's very general, but I think that's like, well, I think it's just really important to assess where you are and if you're moving forward or not, and then why. Why are you not or are?
Yeah, that's great. I am a huge fan of the 90-day plan. I love planning quarterly. I do it with all my clients. I think it's such a good chunk of time for entrepreneurs, especially I find especially for moms. It's because it kind of goes with. In fact, I sometimes tweak my quarters to kind of go with my kids' school schedule, so you kind of have like the fall quarter and then the winter and then spring and then summer, I kind of tweak them that way. But I just feel like it's a really good amount of time, and exactly what you said, you're able to kind of check in at the beginning, decide what your goals are for the next 90 days, and then that's a long enough amount of time that you can move the needle, but it's a short enough amount of time that you can kind of stay accountable to one or two goals. So I love that method.
Yeah, I have to say I'm probably guilty of, and mine is going to be similar. We always end up like with similar stuff, and it's crazy. But I have to say I really need to focus more. I like that idea of just that. When you said it was the second half or the first half of the first quarter, I was like, whoa, wait, what? Like, it's only February 10th. What the hell are you talking about? But it's true, and it's like we kind of let that time just go, and all of a sudden it's July, or, and so I like that idea of taking that viewpoint. I don't take that viewpoint. I was like, dude, it's February 10th. What are you talking about? So I need to be better about that and just be more hyper-focused versus just general,
See, I'll buck the trend. I don't do quarterly planning. I prefer yearly because, I plan my year and then I manage the goals and the tasks and make sure I'm on track weekly, because quarterly is nice because it gives you kind of like a midterm range, but ultimately we're in this for the long haul, and you really have to think about, okay, where am I going to be by the end of the year, and then back into it. So like all yearly planning, and then break that down into, okay, what do I need to get done in this part, and then set goals that kind of push me towards that. So it's always, I'm continually revising it, but it's based on a yearly of, okay, this is what I'm going to get accomplished.
No, and I actually do that as well, and I bet Shonda does too.
Yeah.
I just divide it. I just take that middle step where I say, okay, these are my year goals, and then to accomplish my year goals, what do I need to be doing in Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4? For me, too, I have bright, shiny object syndrome. So once I set year goals, I want to start working on everything all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it helps me to say, like, yes, this is my year goal, but I'm not going to focus on it until Q3. I'm going to focus on this other thing in Q1. So that helps me not feel like in January I have to do 12 months worth of work. Because I have a tendency to want to do that, like, woo, let's do everything right now.
Yeah, and like as with all things in all of our lives, right? There is no one answer. There's like what works best for you.
Absolutely.
Right? And then also, like, yes, I totally agree with you. And I honestly would say even further out too, like than not. So like there's the both ends of this. It's just like there's a year, but you should also have like a 5-year plan, and not to sound like totally woo-woo. It's just like, what direction am I going in, right? So you totally want to have this like big scale, but then obviously we have like our daily and weekly goals because we need to get stuff done. But like if you're like professional, like productive procrastinator, which I totally claim to, where I just like totally bright shiny object, or like I will just like start carving. I have this beautiful eggshell that I carved the other like couple months ago because I was just like had to get something done, and I was like, oh, this is a piece of art and it's totally awesome. I'll totally do this. So just staying focused and not being so all over the place, and being like, and just being able to look at those weekly and daily and see in it if that is actually going towards your goal, you know. So it just helps people that are easily distracted. And I love the idea, Megan, of hooking it up to your kids' schedule, because that changes. That is also like it's seasonal, right? Like the sports and the activities, and there's like I've noticed that we have at our family meeting on Saturdays, which we do weekly, there is like totally, it's already on the board, like what summer camps are they going to be in, what's going on here, right? And so like you have to project ahead and then be like, okay, well, why didn't, and have an accountability coach, which is my husband. Fortunately, he's a project manager, so like he totally now is totally my accountability coach, and being like, okay, you didn't get this out, but like looking at all of that quarterly instead of yearly, as far as like the backtrack and looking to see if you're going in the right direction. I like as a not being stuck by December and being like, okay, what went wrong here, and try to backtrack and see if you got off kilter, what happened. But there's no right answer.
Yeah, and that is it. It's finding that way that works best for you. And I find that because of my kids' schedule, I find that I'm planning my next 90. That's why I even like to call it 90 days, because then it's not defined by anything. You know, like, so I find that I'm planning my next 90 days about every, 30 to 45 days. I'm kind of looking at like, okay, what's the next 90 days? So, yeah.
Well, I'm curious if you guys suffer from this, because I'm 3 years into parenting, and my goals I'm horrible about my goals, because I'm still in denial about how much time my children take from me. And I always used to just pile my plate as full as I could get, and I could get it done. Like, it was no issue. And with children, I constantly feel like I'm walking through mud. Like, I can't, and I refuse to be realistic about my goals, I guess, because I'm like, oh, I got the whole weekend. I got this whole weekend coming up. We got nothing to do. I'll get it done. And then, your day ends. It's 8 o'clock. You just put the kids to bed, and you're like, I've done nothing today. And we've talked about this, the exhaustion of making decisions, but it's that I've never felt so enabled. Like, I have moments where my brain is done. Like, I can't, and I've never experienced that before. That was all parenting. Where I literally cannot do another thing, or just those moments where, I remember the month of December. I had the whole month of December just off. I wasn't launching, wasn't doing. So I mean, you guys you would laugh. It's still on my board of what I was going to get done. I was going to write 2 books in the month of December, plus build a website, plus I mean, and I don't know, like I'm in denial, and I don't know if you guys suffer from this, and I don't know when I'm going to actually be realistic about my goals and how kids affect those. I don't know.
I just posted today, just stuck, period, right, on Facebook, and this is exactly it. And it's just, like you keep on getting taught the same lesson until you learn it, right? I forget who says that, but it's just like, my kids are 5 and 8, or almost 6 and 8, and it's just a constant, you have to constantly remind you've been doing your life for the past 30 plus years before you have kids, right? So this is the way you know how to do it. And it's just like, I can get that done in one night, or I can totally bang that out because you've always come through. And then you're just like you said, just done. And I don't, you guys, I think, have a little older, Andrea has older kids, so maybe there's hope, and maybe she can answer, like, help us out here. And I don't know how old your kids are, Megan, but it's I think it comes back to like realistic expectation, and like just be real about it, right? But we have to constantly remind ourselves, because we've been not parents longer than we have been parents, and it's awesome, and whatever it is, that life is just gone now. So, like the hanging it out at 4 in the morning it's just not going to happen, and I do the same thing. I'm just like, oh, I'm going to take these interviews and I'm going to totally turn them into a book, and it's just 1, 2, 3, especially when you're at the end of a launch that was kind of successful or whatever. I mean, I published that children's book and I was just like, oh, I could do one of these every day. Meanwhile, it took me like 4 years to actually get that in hardcover, So I hear you.
Yeah, my kids are 4 and 6, so I'm kind of still a little bit older than Erin's, but kind of right where you're at. And and I think it is it's about being realistic with your time. Like and I have to kind of keep doing it and keep reevaluating, but getting really clear with what my work time is, and then really looking at my task list and like physically adding an amount of time each of my tasks will take, so that I can add them up and say, like, okay, I have 14 hours worth of tasks to fit in 3 hours of preschool. Like, that's not realistic. And then the other thing I think for me, and what I always kind of talk to my clients about too, is also know yourself and know your stress triggers. For me, I don't necessarily get overwhelmed by a long to-do list or by not completing everything on the to-do list. So I can have those things on the list or on the goal board and kind of be okay with maybe they don't all get done. But some people that's really stressful for them, and so then you have to be like, okay, I'm only going to put these 3 things on the list. And even with that said, even if I have a list that's like, okay, here's kind of the next 10 things I need to get done in my business, but these 3 things have to get done today. And then if I get through more than 3, I can go on, but I'm okay with some of those moving on to the next day.
Well, my son is 10, so not giantly far ahead, but I would love to say it gets easier, but it doesn't. In fact, it sometimes actually gets worse, because now we're into so many sports that, like, you've got practices and games and school and all homework and, all this other stuff. But I think we're all moms, so I think the one thing mom entrepreneurs need to understand, especially if they don't have giant teams and investors and everything, is we're just not going to grow at the exact same pace as the single guy who's starting his business at the exact same time. It's just not realistic for us to expect that. When my son was first born, I thought I could go at the same pace. And I actually did for like the first couple of weeks, and then I hit a wall. And then I fought that concept literally until I think my son was about 8. And then I was like, all right, this doesn't work like this. I've got to step back. I've got to slow down my growth. Although I will say, you hit a point where I had one of those. My son just turned 10 last week, and so I had one of those oh holy crap moments where I was like, in like 8 years he's gone. In less time than he's alive, he's gone. In 8 years, I can sleep in. In 8 years, I can work all day. I had that moment where I'm like, oh, okay, I see it, so I can stop back and enjoy it. And
you're over the hump. I never even thought to think of that way. That's so awesome. Congratulations. Because I get like a mess every single birthday, and Atlas's is coming up, and he's the baby, and I'm a total mess. But I'm like, you're halfway there. That's so awesome. You can like do like all night tequila parties again. Right?
I'm not sure I'm going all night tequila parties.
I meant like doing paperwork in Excel.
Well, and it's you hit that, like, and that was kind of, I was like thinking sleep in, do all that fun stuff, but then in my head I'm like, I won't. So like right now we're overlapping baseball, basketball, so he has at least 3 practices a week plus a game, and I'm like, not only will I sleep in, but I'll get back like 6 hours of just sports time that I can get a pedicure, manicure, or work on my business. And so I really do think, like, as you're planning your businesses, you have to look at the long term, which is another, so kind of going back to what you said, Chandra, I always do, okay, I'm an anal planner. So like I will plan out 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, 1 year, and then down to the day. And then instead of breaking it into quarterly, I actually break it monthly. So I take my year, break it monthly, and then every Monday I do an analysis of where I am, update my numbers. Then every month I do a big review and then make tweaks as I can. So like, okay, I missed this last week. What do I need to do to bump that up so I hit it monthly? And if I miss it monthly, okay, what am I doing to make the changes? So it's kind of continual adjusting based on where do I want to be in 8 years when Max gets the heck out of here and goes to college. That's how I do it.
You're so good. I'm like, crap, I had 50 things to do today and I got to 3. What's wrong with me? You're way better than I am. All right, Megan, we're going to go to you. What was something you've learned as we're approaching first quarter?
Okay. Well, I have them up on Post-it notes up here on my wall, so I was turning around and kind of looking at what I said my big year goals were, and a couple of the things that I wrote down were to kind of leverage my time a little better or a little more, and to outsource more, and then to also increase my financial knowledge. And I'm happy to report, like I kind of did a little mini quarter review just right as we were prepping for this. I'm happy to report I'm kind of making strides. I mean, it just goes to show you, like when you set those goals and you write them down, and then you actually start working on them. And so I'm definitely using, as far as outsourcing, I'm using my team, my VA a little better, getting organized around that. We just, amazingly, we hadn't been using Asana or anything like that before. We'd been just kind of going back via email and Google Docs, and we finally just got ourselves all organized in Asana, so that just feels so good to have everything set, what she's working on, because I felt like I was constantly, she assured me that it was fine, but I felt like I was constantly just like email vomiting on her, like, can we get this done? And I thought of another idea. And like, now I feel like I can go to Asana and not like assault her with tasks. I can just be like, here you go. So I'm excited about that. And then I actually took some time, and I actually hired, we've had Jules on as a guest, and I actually hired Jules to do some content strategy for me, which was amazing. Like just amazing. So I'm so excited to have that dialed in. We kind of talked about sometimes we're our own worst client, and I needed some other brains around helping me plan and get organized, and so to have Jules help with that. And then I'm actually working with one of my former clients. I've now hired her to do some writing for me, so I feel really good about that. So I'm on track with the outsourcing, and then I'm super excited. Andrea is helping me with increasing my financial knowledge, so kind of working through some of her programs and learning how to plan for those 20 years, because I kept thinking, Andrea, I'm like, you're not going to be able to, I almost said, you're not going to be able to stop working because then you're going to be having to pay for college, but I know you, and you got it all sorted out. So that's what I'm working on. That's what so I actually I'm ticking off some of the goals here in the first quarter. And then one little thing that I've been doing, this was originally going to be my answer, was I've been doing more on Instagram, and it's been really fun. It's been really fun to switch social media platforms. I'm really liking the platform, and it's just kind of fun. And I think I was getting kind of burned out on Facebook, and there were so many changes with the algorithms and engagement and stuff. So I've just been having fun kind of switching to a different social media platform and hanging out over on Instagram. So that's been a fun update in my business as well.
Yeah, I love Instagram. It's one of my favorites.
And it's awesome to like get that fresh, and that's so good for you, Megan. That's so awesome. Like it's hard to, like, I think for all of us, like to find that point where you're just like, okay, you might be good at something, or you might be able to do something, but it doesn't mean you should be doing, like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And we all reach those points in our businesses where it's just like, okay, someone can do this better than I can, and it's awesome, and it helps them out, and and there's this whole, collaboration, but like you're getting systems. It's funny that you also have Post-its behind you that remind you. The Post-its lady.
Plug for Tiny Empire.
That's awesome.
Well, but you should see the wall over here. It's a little bit of a beautiful mind over there. But yeah, and and we were kind of talked about it too. It's like the cobbler's children has no shoes. And I sit down with my clients and help them map out their content, map out their launch strategy. And then sometimes I stare at a blank piece of paper, like, what the heck am I doing? I don't know what to do. And so, it's felt really good to bring in some other experts and get a little bit of that, just send some fresh eyes on your business too. That's nice.
All right, I agree. All right, Andrea, how about you?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned recently, kind of as far as getting to those goals, is I'm going to go woo-woo. I don't do it very often, but we're going all woo-woo. Is taking inspired action. Because as much as we can attempt to plan every second of our days and our lives, it doesn't work that way. As much as I'm a planner, the one thing I have learned over the years is as soon as you set a plan, the universe goes, yeah, I don't think so. You're doing this instead. And so I've always been really open to change, but really lately, especially with my business, kind of like we talked about earlier, how long do you have to keep learning the lesson? And these ideas for ways for my business to go keep like reappearing and popping up. And so I've been, I'm actually taking a course on money mindset. So as much as I'm the money person, we all have hidden money beliefs that we all have to work through. So I'm taking this course on it. One thing she was talking about is like set your goal, set your intention, and then take action on it, but follow that inspired action. So that's really what I've been learning is like emails come in or these ideas pop into my head. I've really been focusing on doing them instead of going, I don't know, that's not part of my plan. And that's the thing that I've been just learning is, when you follow the action, it actually has felt really good. And so hopefully those pay off and push me towards my goals even more.
So did you find stuff was like, this is interesting to me because like you're like the most money-centered person I've ever met. So were you had money issues that were holding your own self back? Or I'm intrigued by this.
Oh, hell yes. There is not a single solitary person out there in the world who does not have some sort of limiting belief affecting their money that they have to get over. So I've always had
take. I'm curious.
Oh my god, total freaking mind blank here. Amanda from our Mastermind.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, Amanda from our Mastermind.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm still in it, but it's I totally get the money part. I'm totally comfortable with money. I'm not scared of money, but I came from a farm background, as you did, Erin, and
yes.
We're taught you have to bust your ass 80 hours a week, and money isn't easy, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and at the same time, I grew up with very conflicting beliefs that you have to work hard, save hard, but that money, men that have money are evil, and it should be the man doing it. And, so I grew up with all these things that slowly, one by one, I'm just working on kicking them out. And it's hard. It is really freaking hard because, one, you usually don't realize you have a limiting belief. And so first of all, you got to figure out what it is and then work on clearing it. And some of those just do not want to go away.
Oh my God! Like, I'm about to be in tears here. OMG! What should I say for the young people? OMG! No, but it's so true. Like it's couldn't the more true. If you come from, I think any background, I've met people who grew up with very, I mean, I did not grow up with a privileged life. I come from very humble means, like 50 Cent grew up like 2 blocks from me where they used to like, yeah, just insane, the hood, right? Like, and came to the conclusion that I was like, oh my gosh, like rich people are not bad, right? When you're just like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense, right? Like, but you have to like look back into your childhood and how your family, how your community looks at money, because that's how it's learned, right? And if you come from wherever you come from, and it doesn't matter. I have friends that come from lived very comfortable lives as children, right? Upper middle class to more, and they still have money issues, right? But it's like the other way around, because nobody talks about. I heard a quote the other day, like, we didn't talk about making money, and we were wealthy, let alone like not having money. You definitely don't even talk about that, right? Like, and like it's just like this huge. People have money issues, just like that's why you don't talk about it. It's like politics. It's just something that's just like, whoa, don't talk about it. But I have a great, I mean, not to plug another podcast, but Death, Sex, Money is a great podcast to listen to. It's like an NPR thing, and they just totally like talk to like famous people about money and all this stuff and like getting through your issues. But it's crazy when you so we were driving home from school when Abby went to school downtown, and there's this huge house on the Colorado River here in Austin, and Abby goes, who lives there? She's like, I want to live there. That's where I want to live. And I said, wow, that house costs a lot of money. It's probably like $19 million, $20 million. And she's like, rich people. And she shakes her head, and she's like, 5. And I'm like, we're coming home to our 4,000 plus square foot house, right? Like, where we are very comfortable. We have been good with money. We've made good investments. But it's just like, it doesn't matter. Like, I would kill as a child to live how I live and where I live. But it's just like, how do you make your kids see and you see, and everybody has their issues, and we just need to talk about it. We need to talk about money. Like, I really think it needs to be like out on the table, and people just need to be okay on how to make it and be okay with making it and get over their issues.
Well, and I think one of the most common misbeliefs about money beliefs is, a lot of people, what's impacting your money isn't always a money belief. So it might not be money's evil. It might be, I'm not lovable. And if you believe you're not lovable, money's not going to come to you, because it falls into your equation of I can't earn because I'm not liked at work, or I'm not liked in my business. So it's your money. A lot of people are like, I don't have any bad money beliefs. Like, I had a friend who did not think that she thought negatively of money at all. And from the outset, you would think it was totally and completely normal. But like, the further and further we dug, it was more about, she had a belief that creative people, had this belief about, where creative people fit and everything. And so it's not always money's evil, or you have to work hard for money. Sometimes it's about, that's not my role, or I'm not worthy, or, it comes in many, many forms.
No, I can totally, full disclosure, I know, and I still struggle with this. It's like, I never want to have to think about money, like from a perspective of where's it coming from. Like, my biggest fear in life, my biggest fear is to wake up one day and have nothing. Like, I've worked so hard in investing, and it's like it's a self-worth thing for me, because I'm like, who would like me if I didn't have money? Like, that's just always been, I mean, I was massive amounts of debt in college. I worked 4 jobs, but I still had, because I shopped all the time, because that's what my friends and I did. We shopped, and I never wanted to say I couldn't afford that, because if I ever said I couldn't afford that, then they wouldn't be friends with me, right? Which is not true, but that's just always been a hard thing for me. So it's like, I personally would rather, and I mean, Andrew and I have talked about this all the time, I would work 100 hours a week to the bone to never have to question where's the next dollar coming through. That's just my mentality. Like, I never will let myself get to that position, but it harms me a lot too. Like, it's not a good thing by any means. So I'm right there with everybody else.
Well, the hard part, like with what, like your belief there is, you're fine right now. You are so incredibly far from being destitute on the street that your belief is more about that life balance. It's not that you can't earn money, it's that you can't earn the money you want to and have a balanced life. You know, so they come in all different shapes and sizes, and you got to work through them. If you don't work through them, you're not going to move forward. So.
No, I agree. All right. I have to work through mine. I have some issues,
that could
guys.
be our next coffee chat conversation. I can go over
we
all
have
approaches.
issues, obviously, but like, I mean, and it also comes back to like what we were talking about before about having kids. I mean, well, this is an all mama show, so sorry,
right? Yeah,
Taylor, you're not
our
here. But
millennial's not here. Yeah.
It really, I mean, that's such a good point, Andrea, of just being like, it's not that you can't make money, and it's not that you're not okay. It's that you can't make the money that you want, right? Like, or that you feel you need to be comfortable. And then it's this huge, like, know your value. And I think this is a huge thing for women, and this falls into that category. I mean, like, you kind of glazed over it with the, like, with the worthiness of things, but like, this comes down to everything and the huge things in our life. It comes down to love. It comes down to relationships, which should be number one, because that's when you die, you're not worrying about your bank account. You're worrying about your relationships and how you showed up in the world. And then number two, like, yeah, did you provide yourself and your family the life that they wanted? And like, as women of the world today, it's really hard because we've been fed this idea, like, you can bring home the bacon and you can spend the time with the kids and you can do this, and like complete balance, which is a total farce. It's total BS. You have to choose, right? And you are worthy of whatever it is you choose, but there has to be this decision, right, of just being like, okay, I have 8 more years left, and then I can work 24/7, which you probably won't want to, Andrea, but like, I mean, but it's your choice, right? It's uninterrupted time, which is really hard right now. As I mean, I honestly, shamefully looked up miserable stay-at-home moms today on Facebook, and I'm not even a stay-at-home mom because I have these things going on. But it's the uninterrupted time and putting that and being worthy of your own time. Like, making the time to do whatever it is, whether it's make money or not, and into your business, but like setting that time aside. And it doesn't mean you love your family any less, but you're worthy of whatever you consider yourself worthy is. That's your value. And I think people have a hard time with that, and it comes down to, and then it funnels down into money. You know?
Yeah, no, I'm horrible about it. I know that. I'm like I said, I'm obsessed with it. I won't say. I'm like obsessed. So, all right. So I had a couple, and I'll go one real quick. Was frameworks. I learned this back in November, and it's really about when you're setting up a program, a course, training, and it's changed my life. From I can knock out stuff like that because of framework. So I sit down, and it's really like the 7 habits of, highly effective people, or, you know, like those different frameworks that you can set to what you want to teach has changed everything for me. So as I'm sitting down and saying, okay, I want to create a training, what do I want the outcome to be? And then just setting a framework behind that just makes everything I can pound out stuff like you wouldn't believe. Like, it's super easy. So that has been so amazing for me in creating courses and just teaching trainings and all of that stuff. The second one, it's kind of around what we're talking about, planning, but it's specifically with my email list and just goals, because I'm the creative side of an entrepreneur, right? I could create, oh, this is fantastic, let me do this, and then, but, you know, and then there was no, like, as we're talking about planning, there was no plan for what I wanted to do. It was just kind of like, oh, I got to do a newsletter. I got to get something out. I got to do this. And it was reactive versus being proactive every week. And so this year, I took a step back. I'm a total like visual nerd, like data nerd, visual nerd. I have to see. I'm a Visio dork. I can pound, like, I love Visio. It's sick. So I guess Infusionsoft is a very expensive Visio, but I love the planning and really like sitting, okay, when they come to me, where do I want them to go? And depending on, because I have two very different users, one like trying to start a business and they're putting it all together versus one in their business and trying to figure out how to be successful. And so it's like, okay, I need to understand where you're coming from and then set up that entire experience. So this year I really had to take a step back because I felt like I said, I was just reacting to everything. It was like, oh, I got to get this out. But this has been over the past few weeks, like we've just been sitting down, we've been going through Infusionsoft and just sitting, okay, when they come in here, what I want to set it up so they're getting to know me, they're understanding things, I'm teaching them about business and leading them somewhere. There's an end goal in mind versus just, oh great, they joined my list, now let me tell them some stuff, and so it's really been great because it's forced me to sit down and just, like we're talking about planning almost, but everything, it's not an end goal, like once they hit here they're done, but there's a journey I'm taking them on versus, oh, fantastic, you joined my list. Now I'll figure out something to write to you next week. So it's been really great. As we talk about planning for the business, it's been real specific within my business and understanding where they're going to go, how they're going to get there, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to talk about versus just being, throw out whatever. I don't know if you guys do that. I know this was a big lesson learned for me.
Well, I actually worked with Megan last year on kind of that exact same thing. Like, I have some people coming in at the very beginning of their business, and then some people who are successful in their business and need to start planning for retirement. So like my basically calendar for the year is building the funnels out for, I'm new to business and I need to work on my business finances and growing my business, and then my business is awesome. How do I convert this to money I can put in the stock market or rental properties and stuff like that? And I do think you have to, it took stepping back and going, okay, here's this client, this client, and this client. They're all in different funnels, but how do you get them there? I think everybody needs to do that. It's building the funnel, and there's different funnels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the F word, right? Like, it's the funnel.
Yeah.
It is all about the funnel. And I like to think of funnels kind of a little bit differently, and it's kind of like two inverted funnels on top of each other, because you want to narrow down or just like two, like a bunch of different two funnels on top of each other, and then you have like a small hole because you want to niche down. You want to know who that audience is that you want to get into your funnel, and then you want to know where they live, right? Like, so then you're kind of widening out and being like, okay, I want this person, and then they're going around in a spiral, and then they're on this social media, they're doing this, and then finally it gets wider and wider. You're providing value for them, they understand you, and then they go into your funnel, whatever it is. But it's hard when you're starting out a business if you're not, like, you don't know the like funnel speak, or like these words are just like kind of like flash words, right? It's just like blueprint, funnel, doing that, and it's like, no, like, you just like, it's just picture it, it is what it is, but like you want to have it narrow up at top to begin with, widening it out, and then drop into the right funnel. But that's awesome that it's one of the most underutilized thing, and that's automating your mailing list, right? Like, keeping your list, your list is your community, right? It's not, you're not doing this like inbound sales thing where it's just like, okay, we're pushing them through this, we're doing whatever. You want to see what's going to help each person. We're all like heart value minded people, and that's the way we run our businesses. And going back to what we were talking about before a couple episodes ago, it's just like, focus on providing the most value for the person, but like, you can't do that if you're just kind of like, okay, everybody's on my list. I'm just going to I got to create content for them, right? Like, you need to know what they need. And having these different funnels set up is just really important. And that's awesome that you're doing that.
Yeah, that's something that it's on my list of things to as one of my goals of leveraging my business a little more, because I'm pretty good at setting up a specific sales funnel. Like, okay, if I'm going to sell this product at this point, what are the steps that I need? The free webinar, the this, the that. But then when that ends, it kind of just goes kapooey, and I need to have those like Chandra was saying, automated sales funnels that I don't have a good autoresponder series set up for when you just randomly join my list, until you get my next blog post. And those are some 2015 goals for me too.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I was flailing. And I think this year is going to be really interesting for me too, because it's the year, we've talked about this, I've done a lot of seminars, etc. And you can have two people very successful do two totally different things. So you can't just say, well, they do it this way, this is what I have to do. So this is my year of I'm a data geek too. Like, I love having data. I love doing it myself and seeing what works for me. So just being able to, I'm totally gonna butcher this. Like the tripping, when you trip them into like a small purchase, and then what's it called? Tripwire?
Tripwire.
Is it a tripwire? Okay.
Yeah.
So just trying different things and having them come in at different places, and this is why I'm super excited for Infusionsoft, is to be able to set up those different things and say, okay, you know what? This doesn't work for my business. Like, I tried it. I did, it just didn't work for me. And so to be able to teach that to other people too, because I feel like so many people just get well, so-and-so said to do it this way, so this is how I absolutely have to do it, and I can't go off, and it's not working for me, so I suck. It's like, no, you maybe have to do something different. So that's another thing I'm doing too, just to have my own data to back it versus so-and-so told me to do it.
That's a big one for me this year, is what's right for Andrea and her business, not what's being taught, because we're all of us are different. All of us are in different industries. We all have different businesses. You can't just replicate what everybody else is doing and be successful. You have to do it your way. And I actually think that's the hardest part of any startup, is understanding that you can go learn from somebody, but every single business is different, and every single business will have its own ladder to success. And I think that's a really, really hard lesson for new entrepreneurs to learn.
Well, I agree, and I think you have to be, we've talked about this, especially the past couple weeks. You got to be open about what these people that are teaching have truly experienced themselves. And this is why it's really important to me. I don't want to just regurgitate, oh, so-and-so taught me this, so this is what you're supposed to do. I want to know firsthand if this is what worked for me, and I want to have numbers behind it. It's just really important to me as a teacher, and as I'm helping people. What I teach you to build a business, I've successfully implemented in my own businesses and have been able to build and sell businesses doing this. So this is what I'm going to teach you how to do. I think there's a lot of people that read a book and then they're like, oh, I'm an expert at this. But it's like, have they truly done this and experienced it, and has it worked for them? Because I don't want to be the regurgitator. I don't want to, oh yeah, I read about this, so you go do this because this is how it's done, when I've never put it in place for my own business. So some people could say I'm being a little, I guess, anal about that, but it's really
no, you're providing value. You're being authentic, right? Like, building an authentic business is not easy, and it takes time, and people will see through the shite. I'll say with an accent, so that's non-explicit. But people will see through the shite, and there is not one size fit all. Like, there just is not, and it's really easy for us to be like, okay, well, if I spend this money on this course, and then I'm going to walk out of this course. The work still comes down to you, and whatever, we talked about numbers, right? What I do in Facebook is going to be very, very different than what Marie Forleo does in Facebook, right? It just is. So for me, I have to look at people's advice who started this past year, in the past 6 months with a small audience, with the algorithms that they have in place, and then move forward from there, and then just to touch on emails, just make sure every email you go out, like people that your community clicks on something, right? Like you're training them to click on something, whether it's like a quote or somebody else's link, but like train them to click on things. So then when you do have something that you're providing a community or something to sell, like they're already trained to do that. And I mean, it's not to be like, mean about it. It's just like that's the way you kind of need to like caress your community to do what your CTA is. And you should always have a CTA.
See, that's a great point because I'll just tell you something. You don't have to click anything. I'll just give you some value. So I'm always learning. I'm guilty of that. I'm not saying.
And I'm not saying
right
something needs to be for sale. I'm not saying you need to sell something.
Right. No, but I know what you're saying.
Hey, check us out on Facebook. Hey, do this, and that will help your business out because the people will stay in your community that are supposed to be there, right? Like it's just like they appreciate you, you value them, they value you, and they want to see what you're coming out with. They want to visit you on where you're going to engage with them. So let them do that.
Yeah, I had 2 people spam notify me this week. Ooh, I was mad. I'm like, you double opted into my list, you.
But that's just part of being in business.
That one.
Nobody pays attention to what they're signing up for,
I know.
Which is why you do the double opt-in so that your company doesn't go, oh, you're spamming. People sign up for shit and don't remember they did.
But I also don't think everyone knows what spam is. So when you go to unsubscribe and it gives you that option to say like, why are you unsubscribing? Because this is spam. They're thinking like, oh, spam's too many emails or something like that.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
No, I know. It just hurt my heart a little bit. I'm not going to lie, you guys. I'm like,
if
you would have read this email, you could have gotten something really good out of it, you jerk. Like, it hurt my heart. Like, I add value. Go ahead, Andrea. I'm sorry.
I know we're over, but I think I think this is really important because, like Erin, you were saying, like there's a lot of experts out there who literally have read a book. They haven't done it. There's not any practical application, and that is giant in the finance world. There's so many financial planners out there that are totally broke. They're barely making their mortgage, and you really do. You have to follow your own path, but you have to be very careful that your expert has done what they're teaching you. Like you can't. I love physical fitness. I couldn't tell you what that muscle is. I know how to work it out because I've read enough about it, but I can't tell you what that is. But you have to make sure that who you're getting your advice from is truly able to do it and they're not brand new on the scene, and then make it your own.
No, I agree. Good note to leave it off of because I know we're over time. So really good conversation, as always. I love my Thursdays at 5. So come over, visit us on Facebook. Like I said, it's bit.ly/KNOW business, and we'll be over there, and it's where we always keep the conversation going. So we'll see you guys next Thursday.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Aloha.